morning, folks. Welcome to Tabs on Tap. I am Tabitha Hassell. Hope you guys are all having a really great morning. I know I'm really tired, and I'm sure I look worse for wear, but it's okay. We will get through it. It's been a really long week already for me today. I think today's only Wednesday, and I feel like I have been working nonstop. Good morning, Allison. Happy to see you this morning. And there's so much going on in the world. It's like I don't even know where to start. I've been so crazy busy with work. But the most important part of the morning is we have Colonel Joe Adams joining us at 8 a.m. Colonel Adams, of course, from the Washington Guard, and happy to have him join us. I'm not sure what he wants to talk about today, so we'll all be a little bit surprised by some information, of course, we learned from Colonel Joe Adams. Hopefully, he'll weigh in on this drone saga that continues to unfold. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and not much new, in the drone situation. We'll get into it, but it's pretty much the same thing. They're telling us, they're lying to us, and telling us there's nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see. Go on about your business and stop paying attention to the craziness going on around you. But yet, sightings still continue. And they tell us, oh, there's no problem. They haven't violated any restricted airspace space. But no, they are at Wright Patterson. I believe it was yesterday. So they're here. Good morning, Tammy Jerry Hoover. Hope you guys, good morning, Jay. Hopefully, you guys are having a good morning. I didn't get home until really late last night. I have another big event tonight. I don't even know what movie we're working tonight. That's how busy I've been. I don't even know. I have spent so much time back and forth. I drove to Springfield. I hated not having a show yesterday, but I didn't get home and to bed until 4 o'clock in the morning because I had to drive back from Springfield after work. And I didn't even leave work until about 10:30 out in Springfield. But I'll tell you what, on my drive back from Springfield, I guess what was that, Monday night? Into Tuesday morning, I didn't see anything unusual. And from what I understand, there were people who were seeing what they thought were these orbs around Arnold, Missouri. And I drove right through there and I didn't see it. That doesn't really mean anything because I saw one of those orbs myself. And I'm going to tell you how you can spot them. I think a lot of people are seeing them and maybe they're just not sure what they're seeing. But, you can't see it from everywhere. It's not like it's a star up in the sky that no matter where you are, let's say in Arnold, you're going to see it. It isn't that way. You might only see it for a couple miles around, or maybe just a few yards around the area. So we'll get into that. Good morning, Peggy, and good morning, Karen. So a lot of people still seeing things. We're going to talk about that again. Kurt, for those of you who are just joining in, Colonel Joe Adams joining us at 8 a.m. Our usual Wednesday guest, and very happy to have him. I appreciate Colonel Joe Adams' insight into everything that's going on, especially in times like this. Things are so uncertain that we really don't know from one day to the next what's going to happen. Are we worried that we're heading into a war, between, of course, the wars between NATO and BRICS, but directly with Russia? A lot of people say we already are in a war with Russia. Certainly, we are in a proxy war with Russia and were with the Syrian government. Sadly enough, we won that one. And there's a lot going on. We have these drones. People are very concerned, as they should be. Good morning, Shelley. People should be concerned with what's going on around them because we don't trust the government. We don't trust our healthcare officials. We don't trust any of these government agencies. We don't trust the intelligence agencies, and so they can come out and tell us all of this BS. And the fact is we just don't believe it. And I think that's a bigger deal here in the drone saga, is that they continue to lie to us. We know there is something going on. We know there is something going on, but yet they want to tell us that what you see with your own eyes, what you're seeing all these videos of, and it's not what you think it is. They're still continuing to say that it's commercial aircraft, that there's 800,000 drones registered across the United States, and these are just regular drones. But yet, people can look up and they can see with their own eyes what's going on. And I think it's awfully strange that these people, let's just say in New Jersey, just because that's where so many of these reports have focused on, let's just say if you live in one of these homes in New Jersey, you know what flies over your house. These drones are loud. They're not quiet. They're not silent. It would be easy to say and dismiss it if you could say, well, we just allowed them to start flying at night. So what you're seeing is the same drones that have been flying over your home all this time, but now they're able to fly at night. These are very large drones. You can hear them. And if these people were experiencing these drones, flying over their houses in the past, they would know. And you know what? Nobody's seeing these drones or these orbs during the day. It's only at night. There is definitely something more going on here. Allison, if the DoD does not know what's going on, then we are in big trouble. Not likely. Oh, I think they certainly know or have a good idea. There's a lot of people who have their own viewpoints on what's going on, but they've ruled out, or so they're telling us. Are they telling us the truth? I don't think they are. And I'm going to show you a couple of clips before Colonel Joe Adams joins us to just kind of set into things. And Jay says the government can't even come up with a good lie. That's, you know what, Jay? Thank you for that. Good morning, Linda. Is no, they cannot come up with a good lie. That's what the funniest part is that they can't even lie well. they, they can't even come up with a good excuse because you know why? Because there is no good excuse. And I've heard so many different theories lately. There's people out there, a big buzz right now that's going around. People, you know how you see some of the drones allegedly spraying things. They're saying, oh, they're spraying avian flu, the next big disease X into the country. And you know what? There's so much going on with biological warfare. They could spray things on us, man. We would never even know. We wouldn't even know. It could take weeks to months for people to start, seeing symptoms of certain types of biological weapons. There's something going on. And Abe, I'm so glad you said that because I'm getting ready to play that video by Trump. Yep, Trump said they know what's going on and he doesn't understand why they don't just say it. Jay says, after the Chinese balloon fiasco, even even a foreign actor, they wouldn't tell us. No, we're more likely to hear the truth from another country than we are our own government. And Lori, good morning, Lori. Lori says, with Trump saying no comment at his press conference means there is something to tell. I agree. So here's what the other side is saying. This is what our government is trying to tell us because they've been having these meetings. The House Intelligence Committee. If you haven't watched it yet, go back to C-SPAN and watch the briefing that they had. It's a couple hours long, well worth watching. I watched it live, but you can go back and watch it in part 1 and a part 2, where they had the congressional hearing about the drones. And there's a lot to be learned by watching that congressional hearing. Most importantly, what you gain out of that congressional hearing is they have no idea what's going on. None of the agencies have any idea what's going on. They're all blaming each other to why they don't know and why they can't do anything about it. And then we learn there's all this red tape and bureaucracy, which is why they can't shoot these things out of the air. So please go back and watch that. Go back and watch it. It's very important. But in the meantime, they're still continuing to deny. Our House Intelligence Committee, this is their latest statement here.
These sightings in New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere they're being cited, are federal government operations, and they are not. We were assured, and we asked this question over and over and over again. They are not federal government operations to sniff radiation, gas, recovery, anything else. Number two, they remain committed to their message that there is zero evidence of laws being broken by any of these drones. And the context here was the fact that when Josh and I live probably equidistant from Midtown Manhattan, the New York metropolitan area is some of the most crowded airspace in the world, with Newark, Teterboro, White Plains, LaGuardia, Newark, JFK. There is a lot of commercial aircraft in the air, general aviation aircraft in the air. There are 800,000 registered drones in this country, and then millions and millions and many unregistered drones. Because if you have a drone that weighs less than about half a pound, that need not be.
So they're saying nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see. Go on about your business and pay it no attention because there's nothing going on. And then we have Donald Trump, who, of course, we can always count on to tell us as much truth as he's able to tell. Now, you know this man knows.
Comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports. It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
We
Want to know the
should
truth.
down.
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been getting regular?
Of course, he can't comment. He cannot comment. And we understand why he can't comment. But here he is, flat out telling us Joe Biden knows. Our military knows. They all know. They're just lying to us. That's what came out of that. They're all lying to us. And think about what he said there, the most important part. He canceled his trip to Bedminster. He has a home, a golf course in Bedminster, New Jersey. And we know some of the drone activity was right around that area. He knows why they're there. Is it about nuclear waste? As Allison stated, she said, is the report on the U.S. nuclear regulatory website, event number 57455, states that radioactive material was lost in transit in New Jersey. It said the container arrived at its destination damaged and empty. Is this something we need to be concerned about? In my opinion, Allison, no. But that's just my opinion. And the reason why I say no is because we know that New Jersey troopers, New Jersey State Police, they've been out with little Geiger counters, and they're running around testing for anything radioactive, and they have found nothing. And I think they're trying to dispel the rumors that it had anything to do with a nuclear situation or a radioactive situation or this waste. But I'm glad you brought that up, Allison, because that is a big story, today. And I always count on you. Of course, you're right. You're right on top of things, Allison. And that is a big story today, is that where did this waste go? And does it have anything to do with what's going on? And the reason why I do think it's a very important story, and I do wonder where it is, and if it was taken for nefarious purposes, is it just leaked somewhere? What happened to this nuclear waste? We definitely need to find out. The only reason why I don't think it's related is because these drones are being seen all over the world, not just in New Jersey, but all over the world. And, there's videos out there from every part of the country. And Mandy says, nothing going on. It's all lawful. Of course they know exactly what's going on. Good morning, Sherry. And then, as they tell us, oh, everything's just fine, then we get this report out of Wright Patterson. And let's take a listen to this here.
Patterson Tower, Med Flight 8, 1,900 feet, about 7 miles southwest of the field, like transition your Delta northeastbound.
Med Flight 8 Patterson Tower, use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base. Security forces is handling the situation. Suggest at or above 1,700 AGL.
That we will maintain 2,000 and on our transition for Med Flight 8.
And I gotta keep the lights down so that security forces can see.
Roger that, no problem.
Position approved, sir.
Approved, Med Flight 8.
Med Flight 8 Tower.
Ahead for Med Flight 8.
Hey, sir, you're still approved through our Class Delta. After you leave, Columbus is going to sterilize the Class Delta as of 0330 Zulu. Patterson Class Delta is closed after your transition.
I'm sorry about that. You got stepped on by other traffic. Can you say again?
Yes, sir. Your transition is still approved. However, Patterson Class Delta is sterilized as of 0330 Zulu for heavy unknown UAS activity. Security Forces is handling it, and Columbus is going to sterilize the airspace after you leave the Delta.
Roger that, no problem. Thank you.
All aircraft use extreme caution. Patterson Class Delta is now closed for heavy UAS activity.
Just,
But there's nothing to
why
see
does it
here.
have to be a classified briefing if these are just hobbyist drones, they're not military drones? Why is it a classified briefing on the Capitol Hill?
I don't. I'd have to refer you to Congress on that. Again, sharing as much information as we can here. I don't have the briefing in front of me, so I can't tell you specifically, what aspects are classified or not. I can assure you, though, that again, we are sharing as much information as we can based on what we know.
And then we've got this thing here. I mean, I'm going to turn the sound off because there's no reason to hear what this lady's saying. But, what in the world is this thing? I mean, there in this, whatever this is, there's a lady that's talking. I turned her voice off, but she's trying to communicate with this. Now, a lot of people who work in photography will tell you that this is a star, but this is exactly what I saw when I was driving a few days ago. I think it was Sunday, and I saw exactly whatever this is. And when you look and see what this is, you have to really zoom in for it to look like that. And that's why people say, oh, it's a star. It's exactly what a star looks like. If you look up and look at a planet or a star and you try to zoom in on it, it looks a lot like this. Well, when you go back and look at videos of people zooming in on stars and planets, it doesn't really look exactly like that. It does have a different type of look that could be similar, but it's not exactly like that. And two, what I saw and what a lot of other people are seeing, what people in Arnold saw just, I believe that was not last night, that would have been Monday evening, is exactly this. And, that's not a drone. I don't even know what that is. And people are seeing that. And like what I saw, it wasn't very high up. That's why I know it wasn't a star. Like if you're driving, what I saw was right by the highway. If you're driving down the highway, let's say, and you see where the height is for the lights that line the highway, those big light posts. Well, this was just a little bit above in the horizon, just a little bit above those light posts. And as I got closer to it, I, passed under it and then was on the other side of it. And that's not how it works with stars, and stars aren't that low. And that's why at first I thought, well, that's weird. It's a star, just really low for some, maybe it just the planetary alignment. I don't know what was going on. I'm not, an astronomer. Good morning, Kim. But these are things people are seeing. And I'm not saying it's extraterrestrial or anything along those lines, but it was weird. And a lot of people are seeing exactly what I saw. As a matter of fact, it's becoming more common to see these orbs, whatever they might be. And somebody, my cousin, I think, commented on one of my Facebook posts. It was a plasmoid, or I think is what she called it, a plasmoid. And I haven't really had time to really look in to see what that is. But these orbs are being seen all over. And I do think they're related. I don't know how, because I don't know what these things are. I really have no idea. I don't think it's anything extraterrestrial or anything along those lines. I just don't know what they are. The only thing I can think of is what I talked about the other day, that it's somehow related to some, something to do with maybe some experiments we've done that have gone wrong, something we're doing with HARP, or CERN, or I don't know. That's what it comes down to. I'm just guessing just as much as anyone else is guessing. I don't know. But what I do know is that people are seeing these orbs all over the place. The orbs and the drones are not the same thing. They're very different things. Are they related? I don't know. Good morning, Rob. And, we're just going to have to wait it out. They want us to look the other way and to stop paying attention. And eventually we will. And we will, because Americans, I already say, are fickle. We will eventually get distracted and we'll start paying attention to something else. And now we're going to talk to Colonel Joe Adams. We'll see what he has to say. Hopefully he'll weigh in on the drones, maybe the backpack theory of the nuclear weapons. We know that there are dirty BOMBs in this country. We used to refer to them as suitcase BOMBs. now backpack BOMBs. We know they're here. We know that heat seeking missiles have been smuggled across our southern border and that they're here in our country. We know they are building other types of weapons here in our country. So there's a lot that's going on, but I still don't think that has anything to do with these drones, just because they're being seen all over the world. And if you go to my Tabs on Tap Facebook page, it's a group page. I've shared countless videos there of all of these different things. And Lori, have you talked about the ban of TikTok? No, but we can talk about the ban of TikTok because I'm very much against that. But we will talk about that. And after we visit with Colonel Joe Adams, a lot of things to talk about. Talk about the Biden crime family, talk about Trump going after election officials and other people who interfere. Lots of stuff to get to today at some point down the road. But in the meantime, we're going to be joined by Colonel Joe Adams. Good morning, Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. Another great day in paradise.
Every morning is just a joy to be awake, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yep.
How are you doing this morning, Colonel Adams, and what's on your minds?
Well, I guess we can talk about the flyovers, especially the one in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where they had to actually shut down the flight patterns of the planes coming into our Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I mean, these are serious. But the other day I got some response from a lot of people about the fact that the public didn't know that a lot of these military drones are being flown overseas. They're actually being flown from right here in St. Louis at a major university. So, which makes you wonder about these I almost said Chinese drones. These drones they're flying here could be controlled from any place in the world, especially China. The blowup I got last night was the fact that there was some concerns raised about some drones that are actually produced in China, sold to American hobbyists that have spy equipment on them, so that these hobbyists or whoever doing these things could be spying for China and not even know it. Not even know it. And the other fear was that some of the, it doesn't take a lot of composition B or a high explosive to be implemented. I mean, a piece the size of a dime could blow these things up. So, shooting them down, is that a good idea? Well, the problem if you don't, I didn't say it was a good idea, but the problem with not shooting them down is it sends a message to our enemies overseas just how vulnerable our airspace is. Vulnerable. And that's the scary thing, the fact that we don't do something about this, but very dangerous. I mean, and we also know that the Chinese technology on drones is better than ours. So somehow, I mean, call me suspicious, but China is involved in this thing one way or the other because they're producing a lot of the drones. And it'd be very easy for them to implement something in those drones. They could be spying, which comes back to TikTok. I think TikTok's hilarious. I like the dog videos, the dog and cat encounters, because I go through that here at the house all the time. It's funny. But the spy element for China is amazingly easy through TikTok. And unfortunately, I think TikTok should be banned from an intelligence aspect. So, I mean, what's the people's feelings about TikTok out there? Have they got back with you?
Colonel Adams, I think most people think that TikTok should be banned, and I totally disagree. And the reason why I disagree, and I've talked about this many times over the past couple of years when they've talked about banning TikTok, is I think it sets a precedent. I feel like here in America, we should have the option. We carry a spy device everywhere we go. If any person has a cell phone, then guess what? You're being spied on by China. If you use any apps, you're being spied on by China because they run just about all of these apps that we all use. China has so many different ways to spy on us Americans. But at the same time, let's say I don't use TikTok, but let's just say if I was on TikTok and I had an account and China wants to spy on me, well, guess what? They're not going to learn anything that the government doesn't know or that China hasn't already figured out about me. And I think it comes down to more of government control. I feel like here in America, even if we're being spied on by China, it is our right to say we do or don't want to engage in this app. Because if we start setting precedents and we go back to some of these other, remember when Donald Trump was running? This is so sad. I can't even remember the name of it right now. You guys probably remember. What was the app that Donald Trump was running? And gosh, I was using it all the time. And then all of a sudden they decided, well, guess what? Because Donald Trump is running it, because they're not censoring you over there, we're going to shut it down. And they want, if Kamala Harris would have won, they would have shut down X, they would have shut down Telegram. And to me, it should be the American people's choice. If we do something dumb for ourselves, then so be it. But it should still be our choice. I mean, how much information is China going to gain on us through TikTok that they don't already know? You know, I mean, is
Yeah,
there something I'm missing here, Colonel Adams?
no, I've got you. You know, the thing with TikTok, though, if you're on, like when I go on Facebook and you go down to see these ads and everything and the funny videos, that's TikTok
Yes.
on Facebook.
Yes.
So therein lies a danger right there. But, if they're, I'm sure they're watching me. I'm on the list. So all they're going to get it from me is a bunch of dogs and cats interacting and having fun. That's about it. I don't care.
Exactly. What, Colonel Adams, I don't know what type of cell phone you use, but I gave up on trying to protect my privacy a long time ago because I carry what I call my spy device every single place I go. We all know, as a matter of fact, Google is being sued over it right now. We all know that our cell phones record everything you say. They see everything you do, even when you're not using your camera. They still see it. They still know. It's still data tracking you. And people think that, oh, I turn my location services off. That's just a fun little button. It means absolutely nothing. You cannot turn your location services off. You can turn it off to where you can't see your location information, but they still can. You can power your cell phone off and you think your cell phone's turned off, but it's still communicating. So, Google's being sued over it right now. It's all just a big lie.
Yeah, when myself and Mark McCloskey have meetings, he said, leave your cell phone outside. He said, mine's not even in the house. So
Yep.
yeah, they can them and also the NSA. China's not the only person spying on us. The NSA spies on all Americans.
You
Hopefully
said the magic words.
Oh,
You
yeah.
said the magic words. I'm more worried about the NSA
Yeah.
than I am China. What is China going to do with my personal information, quite honestly? But the NSA, guess what they'll do? They'll potentially confiscate my bank account, and freeze my bank account. They will keep you from getting any loans. They can destroy your credit rating, and they're getting closer and closer and closer to a social credit score, which they will also destroy. I am far more worried about our own government than I am China.
I'm with you there. I am too. Hopefully Donald Trump will put a stop to that, but we'll see. And there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that the White House is not even aware of, even though they're sponsoring it. So either way, just don't do it. Don't do anything stupid and to get on TikTok. That's the thing you do. I enjoy it. So, but I think it should be closed down. I really do, because I'm being in the intelligence industry. I know what you can do to people with a little bit of information. And I won't go into that because it gets pretty nasty. Anyway, yeah, so Biden, the world looks at Trump as he's already the president.
Yes.
So watch for Biden here in the next few days to push hard for a ceasefire with Israel. Have Israel ceasefire. Now, understand a ceasefire, nothing but so they can reposture their troops or what. It's not an end of a war. It's not a peace treaty. It's just a pause in the war. But right now he's down with that. And I think they're doing it behind with Israel to help his legacy. And so look for there's a good possibility more now than ever that we're going to get a temporary ceasefire, and he'll claim that's his legacy. I was watching MSNBC, and I watch it when Al Sharpton's on, and they're actually now asking him about foreign military strategy and foreign policy. This is just ridiculous. Al Sharpton said this morning that Joe Biden was the greatest president in history supporting civil rights and the black community. We know that's not true. I mean, his early days when he was a politician and into his middle of his career, he sided with the segregatists, and he was not a friend of the black community. But all of a sudden now Al Sharpton says he is. So they've got to get rid of that guy. As many intelligent, if they need somebody on MSNBC to be a black person, so they're more, they can get different parts of the community. Why don't they get an intelligent black man or black woman on there, especially, and tell the truth? But get rid of Al Sharpton. I mean, he's the biggest joke on the planet. Anybody, I told you before, anybody who shares the same platform with Al Sharpton or he sits at your table, they're idiots, because the people who have spoken and elected Donald Trump see right through that stuff. They need to get rid of Al Sharpton.
He's a criminal, Colonel Adams. He's a criminal. Remember tax evasion, all those tax evasion charges, and he managed to, many millions of dollars in taxes that he never paid. He's bringing all this money in, but he refuses to pay taxes on it, and people keep forgiving him. And Colonel Adams, as you know, what is it, Joe Biden now? He's up to, I've got the exact number here, 8,062 issues of pardons, clemencies, and it's unbelievable. That's about 10 times higher than any other president in history.
Follow the money. People don't get pardons for free. You know that, right?
That's right.
No. I was trying to get a guy a pardon a few years ago, and I think just the basic pardon attorney retainer is $2,500. So there's money there somewhere. And multiply that times 8,000. Anyway, so I want to comment on something to kind of educate the public on, and this is totally off track. We'll get back to your titles here later. The CBC kid that was killed in that rolling gun battle. Did anybody see the? Yeah, they got the one guy, right? Did you see it? The guy's mugshot who actually shot Brown.
I didn't, and they've arrested 4 more people in that case.
All right, I'm gonna give you something to put in your bag of tricks. His mugshot, his lips were sucked in. Okay, if you notice that.
I didn't.
When you see a criminal mugshot printed on TV and they've sucked their lips in, then they're a school criminal. It changes their mugshot. And I've actually, when I was a bounty hunter, I went after these characters. A couple of times I had the mugshot and the lips had changed, and I had to look twice and be real careful about who I was grabbing. But they do that. If you see that, he's a school criminal. When I went to Costa Rica and recovered that girl who was kidnapped from St. Louis, and I got the bad guy who kidnapped her, and let's just say that we took him to a hotel room and questioned him. And I said, and during the question, I said, look, I'm going to take a picture of you, because in all his mug shots, he had his lips sucked in. And I said to him, I'm going to take your mug shot and don't be sucking your lips in. So when you see that type of mug shot, that's a school criminal.
But why is that? Why do they do that? I'm assuming it's intentional. Is that to change their appearance?
Right. And it does. It really, really does. Anyway, so that was a side thing. When I saw the mugshot, I think a couple of days ago, I thought about it, and I told my wife, I go, hey, there's a school criminal. And she says, what? I said, he's sucking his lips in. She goes, what does that mean? Then I told her. She said, only you would know that. I said, no, police detectives know that. In fact, what they should do is tell them people when they do their mugshot, don't be sucking your lips in. Anyway.
They absolutely should.
Little side information. Nuclear backpacks. Allison, good morning. Allison was quizzing about nuclear backpacks, and I talked about this before. We have lost nuclear backpacks. So when you're assigned a nuclear backpack, mostly special forces people, you sign off on the fact that if you lose your backpack, you go to jail, and you don't get out until the backpack's recovered. And we have missing backpacks. I went up to what is the military prison for Navy, Norfolk, and interviewed a guy years and years ago. He had lost his backpack in Lebanon. I guess picked up a lady at a bar, come home to the hotel, had a drink. He passes out, wakes up, she's gone, and the backpack. As far as I know, he's still in the prison. So a friend of mine ran a mission down on the border. He put a backpack together, put a radioactive sticker on the back of the backpack, and crossed in from Mexico into the United States. and made it 165 miles north of the border with a back to prove how easy it is to get a nuclear device into this country. And the FBI had a fit, and they shut him down and warned him, don't ever do it again. But he proved it, and he did it to prove that anybody could do it. And now we got the cartel. So anyway, it's that easy to cross. In there, how the cartel's got their hold of that too. And you're right, they've smuggled in missiles, 50 caliber machine guns. It's already here. But the danger about those drones is it sends an ugly, ugly message to our enemies of what they can get away with. That's a bad thing. So what do you do? Yeah, I tactically shoot them down. And then
we have to do something. If you're like me and you read foreign news, they're talking about this situation all over the place in other countries, and they're saying exactly what you're saying, Colonel Adams. They're saying, okay, is it really that easy, to bring devices into America? Because we know that these drones could be equipped with biological weapons, with literal weapons, with nuclear weapons. There's any, you name it, they could be attached. And if you look at, of course, into the wars in Ukraine and things that are going on in Syria and in Russia, you'll see that drones play a very large part in that. And those are tiny little drones. And, I see countless videos, and it's heartbreaking to see of these drones, taking out, in entire battalions over in Ukraine and over in Russia. And drones play a very large part in warfare these days. And here we have them flying around our country. And, Colonel Adams, very much to your point about sneaking things across our southern border, is, the cartel is being trained, as you know, by ISIS and other Islamic jihadists. And guess where all of our weapons that go to Ukraine end up? As we know, what is it? I heard the other day it was like 60% of every weapon we've sent to Ukraine ends up in the hands of terrorists because Ukraine sells it. We've given Ukraine a total of $350 billion between the United States and Europe, and half of that is in weapons and other types of ammunitions. And half of that, if not more, ends up in the hands, it ends up on the black market. It goes to the terrorists who sell it to the cartel. The cartel brings it across our border. There's probably right now more weapons in the United States in the hands of nefarious folks than what we even have in Ukraine.
Yep. All right. But back to Joe Biden. The NSA now is talking to Joe Biden, is talking to Israel, and they're asking this question: what can we do for you if you will call a ceasefire? What do you need? What do you want from us? And that's just to control it. So he can say that's his legacy. He got a ceasefire. But they're making Israel a deal right now. What would it take for you to call a ceasefire? So don't be surprised if there is one.
That's because he's trying to save his legacy. Because I think Joe Biden is going to have the worst legacy of any president in United States history. It's so bad. I think pretty much even his supporters know that he has raked in millions of dollars. And Colonel Adams, I'm going to get to that later. I don't want to waste your time, with the breakdown. But he has taken so much money in the Biden crime family. Pedo Peter, is like I like to call him. Some people refer to him as the big guy. He's taken so much of this money in, and it's such a criminal act that he's got to try to save his legacy. He knows that the appeal of Trump is creating peace. And Trump has already said he's going to create a ceasefire. He's going to, create talk, of course, between China and Russia. And you're so right when you said that even though Donald Trump is not yet in that seat at the White House, he's already running the show. He's already running the show.
Mm-hmm. Legacy. So I got stuck on this last night. So I'm on a sucker list for collectability stuff, and I got contacted by a company. They put out Donald Trump commemorative coins, Kamala Harris commemorative coins before the elections, right? So they offered me a deal yesterday that for every one Kamala Harris coin that I buy, they'll give me 9 more, and they're out of stock on the Donald Trump golden coin, but his legacy, right? He doesn't even, all of the donors. I did not know that there was a private donors that actually put the presidential libraries together. People are already sending money to Trump's library, and all the donors for Biden have withdrawn.
Yes.
And I'm sure by being on Facebook and everything, you see of all this Trump memorabilia that you can buy.
Yes.
I mean, you name it, he's got it. Even now, he's even got a Bible out, whatever. So, but
he's got a fishing lure, Colonel Adams. I just ordered one yesterday. There's a Donald Trump fishing lure.
Yeah, see, I mean, I got an autographed picture from him, but whoopee. But anyway, he autographed a Veterans for Trump poster and gave it to me. But look, think about this. Think about before the elections and Donald Trump was running for re-election. Of all the memorabilia that was already out, I remember seeing a few Biden-Harris bumper stickers, and the only T-shirts I saw was provided by the cartel to people coming across the border. Other than that, because somebody else named something else,
there was nothing. I drove across the country, Colonel Adams, as you know, for 42 days, traveling through all these different counties in northern Georgia. And I'll tell you what, I could count on two hands the number of Harris posters and billboards and things I saw. It was pretty much nothing. It was very minimal.
So much for his legacy. That CEO that got murdered, right?
Yes, Brian Thompson.
And now they're doing polls, which I don't, I'm not too much on polls because they're prejudicial, but this should be an open poll. But about 1 in 5 people in the United States think that was a good idea to kill that guy.
People are raising money. They've raised, I think, almost $100,000 now for the defense of Luigi Mangione. It is crazy. He's like, we talked about this before he was even caught. I even said then, I think other people shared the sentiment that this guy is going to become a martyr. And tomorrow, Colonel Adams, and for anyone that's listening right now, we're going to talk about healthcare, because I'm going to play a video for you guys, and we're going to talk about how healthcare companies intentionally deny claims that provide life-saving measures. They intentionally deny those claims. They are the most hated organizations in the entire world.
Well,
and for
you're aware that they actually have seminars to teach their adjusters how to pay less or pay nothing. They actually have convention. No, they go to school for it, and they're required to go to school for it.
Yeah.
How do you pay less? Now, I mean, that's terrible. But this, just because somebody deserves to be killed, you don't go kill them. Okay.
Well,
I mean, I can give you a list. But I can give you a list of people that need it and deserve it, but you just don't go out and do it. But in my world, it's called the indicators, things that tell you about where you're at and where you're going. And people backing this guy for killing another human being shows you about the moral fiber of what direction this country's going. I mean, you would never have heard of that 50 years ago, but that's like the people, the pro-Palestinian protesters. The moral fiber of this country's in real trouble, and that's an indicator.
Yes, I agree.
I know a lot of people that need it, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with taking someone out. There's still a lot of speculation around what happened, and still a lot of people trying to drag, Nancy Pelosi into it with the insider trading and selling the stock options. And I do think there's more to that. I think there's a reason why Kevin McCarthy called her out. And, I think the timing was pretty interesting with the investigation into United Healthcare. Colonel Adams, I think I've told listeners this before. I don't think you were here that day, but when I was really young, I worked for United Healthcare. I worked in the subrogation department, and what my job was at that time is, if, let's say, you are injured in an accident, let's just say as an example, well, subrogation comes into play because when you're injured in an accident, your healthcare covers your costs of your hospital stay and everything, of course, up front. Well, then later on, if you receive a settlement, or if you're entitled to a settlement, then that money has to be paid back to your healthcare company. And I remember, part of my training was talking about denying, these claims from people based on the fact they had an accident. You would say, well, we're not covering it because it should be the responsibility of
Take
these
that
other
letter.
parties.
Take that letter with you. I was just talking to Deanna. Yeah, it's criminal what they do. They get away with it. So I've had some problems. I know the best in property insurance. I investigated some insurance companies years ago, and I come up with the conclusion that Chubb Insurance is the best, most lenient in the country, and probably one of the worst as far as property damage settlements is. What was the other guy? Anyway, stay with Chubb. They're the most expensive. You know why? Because they pay. And anyway, so moral fiber. You have to watch these indicators, moral fiber, and to get behind somebody and say, "Yeah, good job, he's dead." That's a horrible thing. And it's a
It
reflection.
is.
Why would you do that?
But it's woken up the insurance company because, I talked about this, I think it was on Monday. There was a lady who was on the phone with her healthcare company, health insurer, and they were arguing over a claim. And before she hung up, she said, depose, deny, whatever the statement was. And she goes, "You're next." And then she hung up. Do you know they came out to her house and arrested her? She's sitting in jail right now because of her making that. They saw that as a threat. And I think those threats are going to rise.
Yeah. What is that term they use? Mob insanity, mob craziness. People like a lynch mob.
Yeah, the mob mentality.
Mob mentality. That's it. Mob mentality. Yeah, very very dangerous thing. But for the 20% of the population to back him, that's ridiculous.
It is. It is. We should never martyr someone, for taking the life of another person, because regardless of how people feel about Brian Thompson, the fact is this man had children. He was a person. Even if we could say, well, he's a bad person because he made his career based on the harm of other people, and these health insurance companies do harm people. They do. They are absolutely responsible for numerous deaths. There's no question about it. I hate insurance companies. I hate
Yeah,
them. I
they're a
would
bunch
never hurt
they give mercenaries a bad name.
them.
Don't comment on my mercenary activities. Anyway, hey, I got to run. Merry Christmas to everybody. Love you people. Big gun show in Washington, Missouri this weekend. The Washington Guard will be providing. That's the way it goes. Anyway, come out and meet me. I'll be at the Washington Guard gun show tables. Come out and buy that last minute CZ75 stocking stuffer, and I already got one of my Christmas presents.
I think that is excellent. Make sure you guys all come out and see Colonel Joe Adams, of course. I love that. Look at that.
So,
you get your Trump shoes.
Eat your heart out, and those things are expensive. So anyway, I love everybody. Are you going to have a show next Wednesday?
I am.
Okay. All right.
So if you're around, we're really happy to have you.
I'll try and be sobered up by then. Okay.
All right.
God bless you all, and God bless our President Donald J. Trump. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you, Colonel Joe Adams. Merry Christmas. Bless you as well. Always happy to have Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard join us. Of course, you can reach out to Colonel Joe Adams by email at patriots@thewashingtonguard.com, or just go to their website, washingtonguard.com. Fantastic having Colonel Joe Adams with us. And let's see here. And Ellison, be sure. Let's see. You'll see them on Saturday. Everybody's saying Merry Christmas. And I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on with the feed. I know earlier somebody said we didn't have sound, and then the sound came back. I don't know what's happening. That it's not uncommon. It is not uncommon. I keep getting warnings from one of the social media platforms. I'm sure you know exactly which one it was. And I'm like one step away from being banned permanently. So we'll see what happens there. But they do not like me. They do not like this show. They probably particularly do not like Colonel Joe Adams. So they're constantly messing with us. So when you see these different things happen, trust me, it is intentional. It is intentional. If you saw all the messages I get, I was thinking the other day, I wish somebody would start a class action lawsuit against some of these social media platforms. And I hope it's one of the first thing Donald Trump tackles, because I'll tell you what, it's so frustrating to me to have the feed going in and out, and it's nothing I'm doing on my end. You can see me. I'm just standing here talking, not touching anything. I don't get it. You guys don't get it, but it's frustrating. It really is. And, Colonel Joe Adams, we were talking about Biden. There was a whistleblower that came forward, and part of his testimony has been released into money that's been coming in to Joe Biden and, of course, the Biden crime family. And a lot of these payments are coming through to Joe Biden from countries that we are not allied with, non-allied countries, BRICS countries, right? Aren't they supposed to be the enemy? To me, they're not the enemy, but aren't they supposed to be the enemy of Joe Biden? Listen to some of this money. This is insane. This is really insane. So, payments from Chinese energy companies, over $20 million coming into Joe Biden from various Chinese energy companies. There was a wire payment to Hunter Biden's Rosemont Seneca entities for $142,300. And they also transferred money to the exact same amount of money to a car dealership to purchase a car for Hunter Biden. I mean, I really do wonder sometimes if and I get it, we care about our children. We'll do anything we can for our children. And I remember the day we were talking about the pardon for Hunter, I think it was John Remstead came on and he said, let's not be hypocrites, because you would do anything you could for your children, and that includes a pardon. And I get it, I do. But I almost feel like all of this money coming in through Joe Biden is going to Hunter. I keep hearing it over and over, all this money going to Hunter. It's absolutely crazy. Good morning, Elizabeth. And then let's see here. We have $900,000 that came from UPenn. Okay, well, what else? What else is going on at UPenn? Speaking of UPenn, isn't that the same school that Luigi went to school? Isn't that the same school? The United Healthcare shooter? Isn't that he went to UPenn, didn't he? Well, $900,000 from UPenn going to Joe Biden. I is it a coincidence? Probably, but you know what? Maybe not. Luigi, of course, a student at UPenn. And then we have Ukraine, of course. Both Biden and the whistleblower were each paid $1 million per year because they were on the board of directors over in Ukraine for the same company. $6 million, of course, came through Joe Biden from some type of bribery scheme, which is part of why he was being investigated to begin with. A Russian oligarch who remains unnamed paid him, Joe Biden, $3.5 million. And let's see, $3 million from Romania, $3 million directly from China, an $80,000 diamond given to Hunter Biden by a CEFC chairman. And of course, I mean, that's a lot of money. And then we have Joe Biden issuing what, 8,662 pardons, acts of clemency, and so on. That's unbelievable. I mean, the presidents before him, I have a whole list of them here. The presidents before him, I mean, this is what's so crazy. Most of them are like in the hundreds. And let's see, Barack Obama's was pretty high at 1,927. That was at the time pretty much double anyone else. Joe Biden's completely blown that out of the water. Richard Nixon had 926, George Bush 77, Ronald Reagan 406, Bill Clinton 459. Let's see, Donald Trump 237. So Joe Biden 8,062. It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's like he's pardoning the entire crime syndicate before they're even charged, before any of this even starts unraveling. He's already issuing the pardons because he knows what's coming down the line. And I think we all know, since Hunter Biden's pardon was predated back to, what was it, January of 2004, 14. There's nothing he's even been accused of doing back that far. So I think we know there's a lot more we're going to learn. There's a lot of money we're going to learn about. And the Biden family has become exceptionally wealthy because of these underhanded dealings with other countries who are not even our allied countries. And now we have whistleblowers coming forward and testifying about all of the money that came into Joe Biden. Not only just Joe Biden, but Hunter Biden. What was it? An $80,000 diamond given to Hunter Biden? Now, why does Hunter Biden, get an $80,000 diamond? You know what that was? That was he was the arranger. He was the person that went out and connected the dots. Remember, Hunter Biden was the person who arranged the meetings. So while Joe Biden was vice president, Hunter Biden was out running around meeting with all of these different people in Romania and Ukraine and China and who knows where else, saying, hey, I'll work out a deal for you. I will introduce you to my vice president father. And if there's something that you need to do, if you need to, work out some kind of a deal, if you want to open a bio lab or you want to sex traffic, you want to drug traffic, whatever kind of criminal activity you want to do or special favor that you want, I will arrange a meeting with the big guy. And in turn, this is my fee. This is what I get for making this arrangement. And, all of this went on under the nose of Barack Obama. And yet, Obama is never any part of the accusations. Are you going to tell me that Obama didn't know all of this was going on? Come on now. How? Of course he knew. Obama knows everything that's going on. That man knew everything that was happening in his White House. You know that he knew everything that Joe Biden was up to when Joe Biden was the vice president. But no one ever points a finger at Barack Obama. And then it makes you think that, okay, I have never heard about any money coming into Obama. Have you? I don't recall any instance where anyone has even investigated Obama. Do you recall any investigations into Obama and money he's received? Are there any whistleblowers? It's easy to assume, well, if he did it, we would know. If any money came into Barack Obama, we would know because somebody would come forward. No. He knew what was going on with Joe Biden. He remained silent. Nothing happened to him. No investigations have ever been conducted into Obama and money coming into him from these same different people. And remember, he's the one that sent that big pallet of cash over to Iran, who, of course, turned that big pallet of cash into weapons against us, and our allied countries. There's a lot more going on here. There's a lot more going on here. And, it was just revealed that Reuters, Joe Biden, the Biden administration paid Reuters, the news agency Reuters, $300 million to turn over every rock against Elon Musk. Not Donald Trump. They already did that the last time around, and they found nothing other than Stormy Daniels and some other made up stuff. And this time they came after Elon Musk because they knew Elon Musk is going to be the most powerful person in the world. He's already pretty much there. He's going to all of these meetings with Donald Trump. He's speaking to world leaders. He's meeting with different executives. He is right in the middle of things. Now, Elon Musk will never be our president. It's not constitutionally possible. He's from South Africa. That's not going to happen. But you know what? He can certainly be a Barack Obama and run part of the show from behind the scenes. He is now America's wealthiest person at $400 billion. We know that he's put a lot of money into Donald Trump's, not campaign, but into his own America PAC, which is beyond fantastic. And here we have Reuters, $300 million of Biden administration paid Reuters to overturn literally every rock. Remember when Hillary Clinton did that to Donald Trump? She paid millions of dollars. She had people working around the clock, trying to pull up dirt on Donald Trump. And it's absolutely insane. Oh, Colonel Adams added on the comment line, correction, he would have killed Hitler. Yeah, Colonel Adams, there's a lot of talk about Hitler lately, whether or not history books have rewritten themselves. Did Hitler really die, or did he die of old age somewhere hidden away? And back when we used to talk about Hitler all the time, I think that was back before most of us realized that history was rewritten. So now I really do wonder if a deal was made with him and he really did live out his life somewhere else. That, of course, a conversation for another day. Something else Donald Trump was talking about is, right now, of course, they're tallying up those electoral college votes. They're putting everything down on paper. We're starting to see the signatures of these certifications and so on going forward. And we know that Donald Trump already stated that he is going to have watchers basically, during the certification process. He wants to see it all play out. And they haven't talked much about certification, if you recall. There has not been a lot talked about it. So I think we're going to start hearing a little bit more now. So this is a direct statement from Donald Trump that he made. And let's see here. It says, cease and desist. I, together with many attorneys and legal scholars, am watching the sanctity of the 2024 presidential election very closely because I know better than most the rampant cheating and skullduggery that has taken place by the Democrats in the 2020 presidential election. It was a disgrace to our national, therefore, or I'm sorry, that's my reading. It was a disgrace to our nation. Therefore, the 2024 election, where votes have just started being cast, will be under the closest professional scrutiny. And when I win, which of course he did, those people that cheated will be prosecuted. There's the key word, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which I will include long term prison sentences so this depravity of justice does not happen again. We cannot let our country further devolve into a third world nation, and we won't. Please beware that this legal exposure extends to lawyers, political operatives, donors, illegal voters, and corrupt election officials. Those involved in unscrupulous behavior will be sought out, caught, prosecuted at levels unfortunately never seen before in our country. Now, you guys probably remember when Donald Trump made this statement. Well, now it's all coming to fruition. His team is starting to put together a list of names of people that he deems to have been corrupt during the 2024 election, people that were part of cheating, donors who were giving money that they shouldn't have donated and in ways they shouldn't have donated. And we're going to be finding out really soon what's going to be happening to these people because, JD Vance actually released this statement today as a reminder to us that we are putting information out there. They are putting information out there so that we know that in the 2024 election, there was still cheating that did take place. There was still unscrupulous behavior that took place, and those prosecutions are coming. So, is this reason part of the reason why Joe Biden is pardoning so many people? I think there's going to be a lot that's going to come out about the things that happened in this 2024 election that we haven't even heard yet. We don't even know. And I think we know they did try their hardest, but we got it in the early vote. Again, thanks to Elon Musk. And things were different in 2024 than they were in 2020. This time around, we put a lot of folks in place, a lot of programs in place to make sure people knew and could track their votes in some of these battleground states. And cheating wasn't as easy as it was in 2020. And there were safeguards in place. And we're going to see, I really do think, just like the Democrats went after the J6ers, I think the Trump administration is going to go after anyone who is part of this election fraud. They're going to go after all of these folks in the Biden administration who took all of this money in underhanded ways. And I know Biden's running around trying to hurt and pardon all these people that were interacting with him. And I'll bet you anything. I haven't heard this, but you all know it's probably true. When Biden made these deals with all of these different companies and with China and Romania and all the people that were involved, it wouldn't have been a situation where Biden would have said, "Okay, Hunter, work out the details. Come and give me my check and my money and we'll just move and go on our way." There were a lot of people involved in these dealings. And a lot of the people that were involved absolutely were Americans and worked within the Obama administration. And you know that Biden probably told them at the time that, oh, it'll be okay. Yes, I know what we're doing is illegal, but don't worry, I'll just pardon you. you know, I'll just pardon you. It doesn't matter. Anything for Hunter, my son, I'll do anything for him. We're going to create this massive wealth for him before I leave this earth. And whatever you do, however much money you give to me that will be later handed down to my family, then we'll make sure you get your pardons. And that's exactly what went down. And I hope that it's all revealed. I think Kash Patel will certainly be right on top of it. Colonel Joe Adams, the Russians are in negotiations with the Syrian rebels. Well, Russia, Colonel Adams, I'm sure you know this, they have decided to abandon all of their Air Force or their military bases in Syria. And they've already moved out. There's only key folks still in those military bases because it's getting ready to go down in Syria. I mean, it is. There's a lot that's getting ready to happen. And, I know we've talked a lot about the transition between Russia and Ukraine and then things moving over into Syria and the attention going to Syria. Now we have Israel, who is rapidly taking land. They've already moved in on the Golan Heights area. They've already talked about establishing settlements there. They've put, I think it was $11 million they're going to put into the Golan Heights area where they're going to, establish Israeli settlements. And that's not going to go over okay with Russia. It's not going to go over okay with China, or it's not going to be okay with Iran in particular. And it's probably not going to go that well with Turkey either. Turkey, they have their own eyesight, on some the northeastern portion of Syria. So Erdogan, of course, president of Turkey, he plans on taking that part for himself. We have Israel, who's moving further and further in constantly. I mean, they've seen this as the floodgates are open. Let's go in and do this land grab, while we can. And eventually this is going to come to a head, and everyone's going to fight over it because these countries, BRICS countries, they do not want Israel settling in this area. They see that as a threat. And we, the United States, we're kind of caught in the middle where we also don't want Israel to take this land. We don't want Turkey to take this land because we're gaining all these profits from the oil there. So it's like, are they going to move in, on the oil that we've worked so hard to get? And in the meantime, of course, we have the terrorists in Syria who also don't want Israel there, who also don't want Turkey there. And they also, right now, of course, they're fine with the United States there because we've assisted the terrorists in getting rid of Assad. But eventually, as terrorism goes, they will be tired of us. And eventually, they're going to expel us as well, which is something Assad wanted to do, but never was able to do. And he just let it go and let us take, some of his oil. Terrorists, not so much. They're not going to be as cooperative as Assad was. So we're going to see a lot unfold over there in Syria in the coming times. And just over the weekend, I think it was over the weekend, maybe it was on Monday, they found Assad's cousin, who is one of the leaders of the Syrian special forces, and lynched him in the streets. And I've heard the number now of refugees coming out of Syria is well over 1 million. I think it's like 1.2 million at this point of people seeking asylum in other countries, trying to flee terrorism. The executions continue against Christians and other religious minorities. And people are going to tell you that's not true. But you know what? These days and times, even the terrorists carry video cameras. You can see that it absolutely is true. It absolutely is true. And, there's a lot that's going on over there, of course, with Israel taking over different areas. They've destroyed most of the weapons that, Syria left behind, most of their fighter jets and things like that. Israel doesn't want them, and they've just destroyed them. So the terrorists don't get a hold of them, which is good. But there's a lot that's going to unfold. There's a lot unfolding still between Russia and Ukraine. You probably know that one of Russia's top generals was assassinated. If you guys heard about that, if you haven't, you probably should look it up because things are a little crazy over there right now because of this. It was Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov. And I'm sure, Colonel Joe Adams, if you're still listening, you probably know exactly who this guy is. And why this is so important, because he was the head of radiological, chemical, and biological defense troops. And he is also somebody who has given an awful lot of testimony over the United States and the illegal biolabs we have in Ukraine. Remember, we've talked about this many times in the past, how one of the first things that Russia did when they made their special incursion military operation into Ukraine, one of the first things they did is they went to these biolabs and seized a lot of materials, including files. One of the first things they did is they went to Kiev and took a lot of the files right out of Zelensky's hands, pretty much. And those were some of the first things that they did before anything else even happened. And so, of course, they have a lot of information about these biolabs. And it's kind of interesting that Ukraine, this was before we had solid evidence that Ukraine was behind this assassination, is that Ukraine had just charged Kirilov with crimes, in regards to seizing documents and other things from these biolabs in Ukraine. And now all of a sudden, he is assassinated. You can go back again, video camera. There are video cameras everywhere. Everything's caught on tape. You can see his assassination on video. I've watched it a couple times, and it was a Uzbek guy who's I think 29 years old. And what he did is he was paid 100,000. He admitted this. It's his confession. This it's not allegedly. He actually did. He confessed to it that Ukraine paid him $100,000. He's implicating the CIA as being involved in the transaction, which is a really big deal. And he was given again $100,000 in a trip to Europe for assassinating this lieutenant general for Russia, who is a very important person to Putin. And what he did is he tied some attached explosives to a scooter and left the scooter at this guy's front door in Moscow. So when this guy and his driver walked out his front door, this man, the assassin, hit the, of course, electronic device, the remote control, and blew him up and his driver, both killed. And Russia is not going to let this go lightly. They're not going to let it go. They absolutely will retaliate. How they'll retaliate, I don't know. Will they retaliate against the United States because allegedly our CIA is involved? I don't know. Our CIA is involved in pretty much every underhanded, dirty shenanigan that goes on across this world. So we've made certainly a lot of enemies, but this one is no different. But it's very interesting. And I really wonder, I've heard, and I've talked about this before on the show, that Putin himself has submitted a lot of this paperwork to the UN and to other organizations to say, hey, the United States has all these illegal biolabs over in Ukraine, that they have all of these trafficking operations going on, whether it's drug trafficking, sex trafficking, organ harvesting. There's so many different things, underhanded dealings that we have in Ukraine. And we know that's what this whole entire war is about. And like I said earlier, when we were talking to Colonel Joe Adams, the United States and Europe in total have given Ukraine $350 billion. Isn't that crazy? And we are planning between us and Europe, between now and January, of course, when Donald Trump steps into office and stops all of this craziness, he's going to put an end to it immediately on day one. He's going to have a stack probably 10 feet tall of all the Biden policies he's going to end immediately. Well, our government, we're probably going to give them another, I've heard we could give them up to another $50 billion. Europe, I'm hearing, is planning on contributing. And we could end up as a totality giving them another $100 billion between now and January. And it's really unbelievable, isn't it? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why? And I know it is to protect all of the Biden and Obama dirty deeds that took place in Ukraine. We're doing our best to push it under the rug, make sure no one knows about it. And thank God for whistleblowers that are coming out and talking about some of this information that they're hearing over there. So that's one of the big things that are going on. And thank you for Colonel Adams for bringing up Syria, because I did want to make sure that I touched base on all of that, and look at BRICS. BRICS has been gaining speed, gaining power for quite some time now. They have now reached a point again where their GDP is higher. It was higher than G7, now it's higher than G20. They continue to improve. Russia now has the strongest economy in all of Europe. And I think that says a lot, and we know that even Donald Trump has threatened Russia and other BRICS countries about them coming up with their own currency. And they made another statement, yesterday to say, it's not negotiable. We will have another currency that we're going to be transacting in. BRICS will have its own currency. And I don't know how all that's going to play out with Donald Trump once he's in office, because I know that he understands what's going on here. And I really hope, and he has talked about it before, withdrawing from NATO, withdrawing from the UN, and I hope we do. I really hope we do, because they're taking us down with them. There's no question about it. I can't wait to see on day one that giant stack of executive orders that he's going to throw out, and Democrats are going to lose their mind. And when they do, I hope they remember that Kamala Harris, I played the video for you back in the day, a few weeks ago, where Kamala Harris said, she wanted to pass our gun legislature. Had she won, what she said that on her day one, she was going to tackle, gun control and gun restrictions and gun legislature. And she said that if it didn't pass through Congress, she was going to write an executive order within her first 100 days to make sure that these gun restrictions took place. And so I don't think any Democrat has any room to talk when it comes to Donald Trump, because yes, he is going to immediately cancel all of these ridiculous Biden policies. And I hope it comes along soon, because we have a lot of, like I said, we first came on the show this morning, there's a lot of uncertainty that's taking place in our country right now. A lot of uncertainty. We have this drone situation. We talked a little bit about that with Colonel Joe Adams. We heard Donald Trump's statement that he made, and it's unfolding every single day. Our government is telling us, look the other way. There's nothing here to see. It's all a figment of your imagination. There's no drones, there's nothing nefarious going on. They're not violating, any restricted airspace. And then we play the video from Wright-Patterson that they had to shut down operations. They had to shut down flights because of heavy. Did you hear that they use the word heavy drone activity? Heavy drone activity. There's a lot going on, and our government is lying to us. They're lying to us. Trump knows they're lying to us. Now, if Donald Trump were president right now, he would tell us everything we needed to know. We also should be in a need to know basis. Now, there might be things, of course, for national security he has to hold back, but he would certainly give us a better idea. And for anyone out there who is saying there is nothing to these drones, there's nothing to go on, there's nothing to see here, these are all commercial aircraft or hobbyists, then why would Donald Trump cancel his plans to go to Bedminster? If it was nothing to worry about, nothing to fear, why would he cancel those plans? And Robert, replying to Colonel Adams, do we really know the true and real story of Hitler? The older I get, the more questions I have regarding what we are told is history, especially regarding religions and central banking reasoning. Good point, Robert. There's a lot of people out there talking about exactly those same things, because we know now that history has been rewritten. We now know what happened to Gaddafi and what happened to, Saddam Hussein and Assad, and the list goes down. What was the same situation applied to Hitler? I don't know. Somebody pointed out the other day that Hitler was the Time Magazine's Person of the Year, I think 2 or 3 times. I don't know. There's a lot to be said about all of that. And Colonel Adams, NATO countries in Europe are still telling the population to prepare for World War III. They are, Colonel Adams. I'm glad you said that. That was something I planned on bringing up and had almost forgotten, is that Germany is warning Germany has given a lot of warnings, of course, to their citizens. Are telling them right now, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, to have supplies available for at least 72 hours, for maybe having to stay in place for 72 hours. Sweden, usually Sweden kind of stays out of things. Sweden preparing its citizens for war. There's a lot of countries. The problem is is we here in the United States, we don't, our government doesn't tell us anything. These other countries, they tell their citizens to plan for war. Has the United States ever made an official statement? Has any presidential administration come out and told Americans, oh, you should probably stock up, on non-perishables and plan for an emergency situation in which you might have to stay in your home. Never does that happen. Never, never. And there have been so many ominous situations we've been in, including now. We have drones flying into our airspace, uh, into airports. They say it's not, but we know there's been airports closed down by these drones. They're flat out lying to us. And like Jay Saunders said earlier, they can't even come up with a good lie and a good reason why they are lying to us. There's a lot that's going to unfold, as always in the coming days. With this drone situation, somebody asked me last night, they said, well, is this situation, is it just going to go away? Are people going to do what they said and just ignore it? Some people will. Some people will say, well, the government told us there's nothing to see. There's nothing going on. It's just commercial aircraft. It's drones that were already there that we just didn't see before because now they have lights on and they're flying at night. And it's amazing how many people tell me, oh, it's so normal. All these people have drones. These are not drones that people have. Yes, Colonel Adams, history is written by the victors. Best statement I've heard this week. That is true. Eh, a lot to play out with these drones. If you go on the Tabs on Tap group page, it's a public page. You don't have to subscribe or do anything to see it. And I've not really commented a lot. I haven't had time, but I'm just blasting all these drone videos and other weird phenomena that's going on onto that page. And by weird phenomena, there's a lot of stuff going on besides the drones. And is it all related? I don't know. A lot of people think it is. Earthquakes. What was it? It was 7.2, and I know I'm not saying this right. I can say it right in my head, but when it comes out of my mouth, it doesn't. Vanuatu, does that sound right? Um, in my head, I can say it. When it comes out of my mouth, it doesn't come out as very, very, very well. But anyway, that was a devastating earthquake that took place. Gosh, hundreds of earthquakes, here in the United States, over in anywhere from up to the, from further up where the Aleutians are, down through Alaska, down to Texas, up through Nevada. There's been some, of course, in Missouri. They're everywhere, particularly in Northern California. Hundreds of earthquakes taking place, allegedly, of course, due to planetary alignment. That's what a lot of people want to talk about, gravitational pull one direction or the other. But there's a lot going on. A lot of people are sending in videos of a red sky. There's a lot of old tales about a red sky and what a red sky might mean. There's people sending in weird videos of the moon, all of these weird orbs that they're seeing. And these orbs, if you see one yourself, they really look like a planet or a star. It's the strangest thing I think I've ever seen, to where it looks like a little round ball, like a planet. Like if you were looking up and how you can see Venus, it looks a lot like that, but it's very close. It's in our atmosphere because it's below the cloud cover. What I saw that day was below, it was very overcast that day and it was below. And, yesterday, again, very overcast. And a lot of people were reporting seeing these, what we can only refer to as orbs. So we're going to, keep an eye on what's going on. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I'll have another late night tonight. I've got another big movie project working on this evening, but I'll be back tomorrow. We'll have lots more to talk about, and Friday. And gosh, it's so hard to believe it's going to be Christmas right around the corner. Crazy, isn't it? The time flies by so fast. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some updates on some of the situations that are going on. I wish that Donald Trump would make another statement and, try to force the powers that be to give us a little bit of information. I know he's not at liberty to tell us anything that he hears in a confidential briefing, but as he stated, they know. Joe Biden knows, our military knows. Let's tell the people because we also deserve to know. So that's it, guys. Hope you guys all have a fantastic day. I will look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And as Joe Biden said, be blessed. Thank you to Colonel Joe Adams for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.